Hey, what's going on? Todd Show with another episode of the Sawdust Dude. Woo! Whoa, 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 whoa. Stop. Hey, you thinking about building that woodworking bench? Wait a minute there, cowboy. Hey, let's talk about some tips and some mistakes that people make when they're building that woodworking bench. So remember, it's about learning the skills for better results. Let's watch. Okay, cool deal. Well, let's talk about this. Get ready and get that notepad out and some pencil and a piece of paper. All this goes. You want to take some notes on this because you're pulling off all these ideas and all these plans. And I'm going to tell you, this video is really going to help you focus everything in so that you got a perfect bench. And that's what I really want for you, is for your first experience to be a great experience. So let's talk about mistake number one is this. It's the wrong size for their space, and it's the wrong size for your purpose. Let me say that again. It's the wrong size for your space, and it's the wrong size for your purpose. Now, I've got my little micro shop here that's about 350 square feet, and so I know this, that my projects need to be kind of small, because I've said before in other videos, I've got like a 70 square foot spot that I really kind of work out of. I roll the equipment out and I roll it back against the wall. But I've got my stationary woodworking bench over here, but you can see it's only 20 inches wide. But for my shop, it works out great. And why does it work out great? Because I build projects that are suitable for my shop size. Here's another point I want to bring out about, is it the wrong size or the wrong purpose for your shop? When you're building your workbench, you need to think, okay, what do I need my bench to do? Do I just need a surface to build off of? Or do I need surface and storage? So ask yourself that question. Is it just surface, work surface, or is it surface and storage? Now, a lot of times you build a bench, and I'll show you some in the shop here in just a second, that really, you got all this surface down below that's not being used. And that's kind of wasted space, especially in you got a small wood shed or garage shop. You need to kind of maximize everything. So don't waste that footprint. I know I'm using it up top, but also you got storage between here and the floor. So that's a good point to bring out. It's like, how can I incorporate a dual purpose for my bench so it's a work surface and it's got storage? As I've told you before in other videos, this is a bench that I got from Harbor Freight years ago. This bench does come with some nice features. It does have a vise on the end of it. It's got holes so you can put little bench dogs down it, and that way if I'm doing some woodworking and I need to plane the surface, and that bench dog will stop that stock from sliding over or stop my material from sliding out. And of course it does have drawers. Now the drawers aren't very deep, but they are still drawers and they still serve a purpose. Like I said, this bench is only 20 inches deep, but once again, it's great for my shop size and it serves my purpose. So it works for me. How's your bench going to serve you? The functionality, the purpose of it. Is it gonna work? Think that through. Make sure that your bench is well built, that it's gonna hold up. You don't want it kind of racking back and forth. This Harbor Freight bench, it's kind of a lightweight, but I've got this attached to the wall so it doesn't shift. I've actually had to bolt it to the wall. That way it's not racking and shifting around, because over a period of time, you keep doing that, next thing you do, you got firewood. I got this bench from an estate sale, so really I got it for next to nothing. Sat in storage a little bit, and then I got a CNC machine, and I'm like, oh, this will be perfect, okay? So let's check out this work surface. Hey, I really recommend that your top really be 3/4 of an inch, and this is just 3/4 inch plywood. So it needs to be 3/4 of an inch or more. The bottom here, he constructed it out of 4x4 posts, and this is oh, I'm sorry, these are 2x4s just kind of screwed or nailed together. For a minute there I thought they were 4x4 posts, but So, but everything's got lag screws in it. Something real neat. He took this 2x12 here and just kind of ripped it down. I think this is about 11 inches, but it's 1.5 inches thick, or 1.75 inches by 11 inches. And so this table is super sturdy. And I put, of course, I've got my CNC machine on it with the world famous Hula Girl. This is a good workbench, and he took the time and he put these lag bolts in it to kind of make sure everything stayed together. And check out this little pencil holder he made. That's pretty cool. That's a neat little touch there. This thing does perfectly well. For me, if you had to do woodworking off of it, it is kind of high, but that's another thing that you want to do. Make the bench towards your height, that you're not leaning over so much, but you're working at a good, comfortable level. This thing just works out well for my CNC machine. And one of the things that you can do also, if you have a plywood top, you know, you can kind of see those grain ends right there. For some guys, that's really kind of like no bueno. They don't like that look. You can really dress it out so you have plywood. Then you could take oak or some other hardwood and just kind of take it, and you can miter that corner, do a 45, but you know, do a glue up, and you can trim out the edges of your top like that, and it makes it look a little bit better. I think, and really, especially for you guys that have garage shops, one of the things you could do for your woodworking bench is actually have it on wheels. But you got to be careful about what type of casters or wheels that you use on your bench. Here's when we're talking about workbenches and work surfaces, it's not always about like a bench, like a woodworking bench, but it also can be something like for my my DeWalt planer here. This is a 12 or 13 inch planer. And so you can see from it here, it's just got wafer board or chipboard or particle board on top. It's just 1/2 inch construction made out of 2x4s, 4x4s, and then some 1x4s down here. This bench works out so well because I can lock and unlock those casters, those lockable wheels, and then just roll it right back to the corner again, and I freed up my space. That's a perfect example of how my bench serves my space. And the second mistake people make a lot of times is this. It's just lightweight construction. No bueno, no good. It just won't last, and it'll cause more frustration, which kind of cramps into your woodworking time. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things that you want to do is use the right type of wood, and especially your base, you want to construct it really well. On one stand I have in here has nice 4x4 post for the legs. Another one's got 2x4s kind of sandwiched together. I like the 4x4 construction to start off with because it's just pretty hefty, and you want a good solid base, and that way your workstation's not racking all around and kind of shifting from side to side. So this spruce wood works out really well. Spruce, of course, is a type of pine, and this 4x4 post will make excellent corner legs for your woodworking bench. I love when people leave comments, because David had a question. He was just like, you know, how do you get 2 4x4 posts put together? What's the best way to get 2 posts together? Well, let's just say these are my legs or my corners, and I want them to be extra beefy. Well, I'm going to lay out my posts first. So this is just an example, so however it applies to you. Well, let's just take this as an example. I've got 2 4x4 posts that I want to sandwich together, that I want to double up. And obviously just a regular screw won't go through. So how would I join those together? Well, let me lay out this first. I'm going to come from in here, and let's just say 6 inches looks right. So I'm going to come in 6 inches on both sides. So I know this is 3.5 inches wide, so that's going to put me 1 3/4 inches is going to be the center of that right there. And I can always double check by measuring back from the other side. Now, David's question was this: how can I join up these 2 boards? Well, it's pretty simple. A regular decking screw is going to be 3 inches long, and it just won't work. And you need something that's a little more meaty than that. Here's the perfect deal. These are called timber screws, and you can buy them in various lengths. If you go to Lowe's and Home Depot and kind of like the nuts and bolts section, These will be in some of the bin, and you can buy them individually, but they are timber screws. And this is going to solve your problem right here. It's a great way. But what I want to do, I need to countersink a little hole because I need to drive that in. We can take a paddle bit like this or a Forstner bit like this. And so I've got my marks. Just sit them on top of each other. Make sure that they're good flush from left to right and front to back. Just take my log boss screw or my screw from here. Some of y'all, that drives you nuts when I use like impact driver as a hammer. I just kind of center it up from here. Boom. Then from here, and my 4x4 posts are together nice and solid. You can even take a wood plug and plug this back up, and so it gives it a different look. Here's another little tip. Say you don't want to see those, you can always put this one against the wall and this one on the inside of your bench. So if I'm working this way, these plugs are on the inside of my bench and I really won't see them. You can also take a little wooden plug that you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, put a little glue in there, plug that up, and so Dave, there is the answer to your question, my friend. Appreciate it. So it's all about the construction, making it work real well. Now, here's another thing. Obviously, you have your bench, and so here are my legs, and there's a leg there, and then here's a leg over there. What am I going to do to join it? Well, you can always take a 2x4 and just nail it on the outside, but you know what? If you want to dress it up a little bit, you can also use a mortise and tenon method. So a good thing to do if, I'm just going to use this as an example, and this is just a 1/2 inch, but I'd use a 1x4 that's an inch thick and about 4 inches. And so we'll do a mortise and a tenon construction. And so I'm going to take my legs as we used here, and so I'm going to put them like that. I'm going to take a couple of these quick clamps, and I'm going to kind of clamp my boards together because I don't want them moving or jumping around. And from here, and I clamp it. And so that's good and flush on both sides. It's pretty good on the top. Now from here, this is going to represent my legs down here. This is going to be the base. And so let's just say I want to come up 4 inches. I'm going to make a mark there. Then I'm going to take my Swanson Spooky Square, come from here and just scribe a line all the way across. Now I'm going to take my cross member. This is kind of like if I'm looking to here are my legs, I got a piece going across. And this mortise and tenon method is just going to add more strength than if you just screwed it on the outside. So from here, I'm going to take my board, lay it up here. I'm lined up with my lines. I'm going to hold it in place. I'm going to take my square, make sure it's nice and square. Make my mark here again. And then just for giggles, make my mark, making sure, yep, it all lined up. Now, how am I going to cut all this out? You can take a router and, you can clean that out with a router. But a way that if you don't have a router and you just have a skill saw, here's a way that you can make that mortise so that you can build this out correctly. My circular saw is unplugged. I'm going to take and set my depth. And I want this to be almost the very same. And there it is right there. I'm going to lock it back out. And just check it one more time. Making sure that all looks good. Yep. I may bump it down just a hair more. And then from in there. So my saw will only cut the depth of this board. this is a 1/2 inch board. I would recommend that you use at least a 1x, something that's 1 inch thick. So from here, I'm just going to plug up my saw now. And find the end of the cord here. Now let me tell you what I'm going to do before I do it. What I want to do is come along here and I'm going to cut this out. And I'm going to cut this line. But then I'm going to take my saw and I'll make straight cuts using my Swanson. And I'm going to cut this out. And I'm going to cut this line. But then I'm going to take my saw and I'll make straight cuts using my Swanson Speedy Square. And I'll use that as a guide. So these are precise cuts. But all in here, I'm just going to make a series of real small cuts like this. Just kind of 1/8 of an inch apart. You really need to wear some good safety glasses, because what's going to happen, we're going to create little chips and they could fly out. So make sure you got some good safety glasses on. I got my work surface and everywhere I need to be. I'm good with everything. Come in here, line up my first cut. Go ahead and do this one down here. That all cut out, and I would recommend putting your boards together, because that way it is precise. I mean, this side is going to be just like this side, and it's pretty simple. You can take a chisel, but I'm going to take my hammer and I'm going to break these little pieces off like this. So I'll just take my chisel from here and I'm just going to kind of clean this up a little bit. Get some of these high spots from here. From here, I'll just take my board, and sometimes because I made my cuts so close, because I really want this to fit super tight. Oh my gosh. Mama, look what I did. That's why I love woodworking. You do stuff like that, you're like, success, man. That's validation right there. So, that's my mortise and tenon, and it's pretty flush, really. You can do a couple screws in there and glue on it on the back side. Space this out over here. And what that really does, when you have your board and your top up there, that really keeps your bench from racking and moving around. Mortise and tenon, great construction. And my last point is this: don't overbuild. You know, some guys are just like, got big ideas, but really, do you have the tools or the skills to pull off that project? You know, maybe it's a little too fancy for you right now. That's not a bad thing. Kind of put that ego to the side. Remember, it's learning the skills for better results. Here's the problem that I've seen with especially beginner woodworkers. They really just try to take on the giant, and then all of a sudden they get discouraged. It doesn't turn out like they had envisioned. And then you know what happens? You know, your confidence starts lacking a little bit, and you just kind of push that project to the side. Come on, guys. Just don't jump in the deep end. Let's just kind of wade into the water and get used to it. Let's start off at a level that, you know, where you're being realistic, like, yeah, I can do that. Get that low-hanging fruit. Reach for those goals that you know you can achieve. Down the road, you know, say you build this base and it's a really cool base, and maybe down the road you upgrade to a better top. How about that? Build a cool base, a nice strong base, but then later on down the road, you know, instead of that plywood top, you got a nice birch or a nice cypress top, and you're like, oh yeah, that looks so much better. Well, cool deal. Thanks for watching another episode of The Sawdust Dude. It's about looking for that perfect plan for a woodworking bench, and it's all about learning better skills to get those better results. Oh yeah! I'll see you real soon.